everybody, and welcome back to Send News, the Inside Gaming podcast where we talk all about video games. And boy, howdy, we got a lot of news to talk about this week. First off, I'm Brian, your host.
I'm Alana.
Yo, what's up? It's Evan at Darth Burrito. I'm excited to talk about Bethesda. I'm excited to talk about Xbox pre-orders. I got one, by the way, so no one needs to worry because I got one. I'm okay.
Oh,
we're doing all right over here.
Fancy lad.
Yeah.
This is one of the biggest weeks of news in decades. I don't know. I was thinking about this on the daily, like trying to put this into context. But obviously, the big news was Microsoft buying ZeniMax, aka the parent company of Bethesda, of id Software, of Arcane Studios. Just massive. They basically doubled the size of their own in-house studios with this move. But it is just an earthquake is understating it in the games industry. What do you guys think? I mean, I just think it completely changes the argument around getting an Xbox. I think it's become a million times more attractive now. It's just nuts.
Oh, wow.
I kind of don't know what's going to happen yet, is my big thing. Like, it certainly makes Game Pass way more valuable, and I keep trying to shout from the rooftops about Game Pass. Also, like, you know, when you think about it, it's good value for me. I'm happy to have it. But think about people who are in really low-income families who can only buy one game a year.
I saw you tweet that. Yeah. That's a good point.
I mean, that's even coming from, like, my perspective, which is still, like, I had enough money to function, was I would have to, like, pick very carefully what games I would buy in any given year and often wait for them to go on sale because, you know, I couldn't have a lot of games and my family didn't have that kind of money. So all my consoles were secondhand. Something like Game Pass would have been amazing for me.
Right.
But it's also really good for the disabled community. People who don't actually know if they can even play a video game until they've tried an hour of it. To be able to test it out.
Oh, I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, and because of refund policies, often they'll spend $60 on something that sounds like they'll be able to play it just to find out that they can't. Game Pass is just awesome for things like that, for things like accessibility for everyone. And every single Bethesda game being on Game Pass day one just rules for a lot of people. But I don't know how I feel about, on the flip side, we don't know if Xbox is going to do it, but making franchises that have been cross-platform for a long time, like Fallout and Elder Scrolls, platform exclusive. That it just seems mean. I get that it's business. I get that Sony would do it, but taking those things away from people who are already like very much in the PlayStation ecosystem or don't have access to PCs is like, that one's a big one.
Yeah. I mean, Sony was certainly trying to do it. I mean, they locked up Deathloop as a PlayStation 5 exclusive, right? They were certainly trying to, and Xbox was just like
Ghostwire Tokyo.
And Ghostwire Tokyo as well.
And they were trying to get Starfield too, I believe, or they were in talks to do it. So yeah.
And this isn't a situation of like, well, you know, why do you not put that pressure on Sony? I mean, part of it is that we know that Sony won't do it. Microsoft is more of a question mark. But I also didn't have this stance when they bought like Ninja Theory or when they bought Double Fine. I wasn't like, oh no, what about those can't be exclusive. It's just with Fallout and Elder Scrolls specifically, it just it's a lot of people who are very passionate about those franchises.
And with Doom being back now, the great reboots, Arcane stuff is great.
Yeah.
I mean, I love the Dishonored games. Yeah, totally. It just it gives them just this insane lineup of IP now. It's just nuts.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because I think a lot of people were making that claim like, oh, Xbox didn't have any exclusives, and then people countering with like, well, now they have all the Bethesda stuff, and it's like, yeah, but you're not going to see that stuff for a couple of years. New games, at least. The Game Pass stuff is coming, but like, it doesn't change anything for the launch window. It doesn't change anything maybe for the first year of the Xbox
just Game
Series
Pass,
X.
Really, yeah. But I mean, I'd be okay with Starfield being exclusive and every new IP going forward being exclusive. Like, I think I'm okay with that. It's just Elder Scrolls and Fallout. It just seems fucking mean.
Well, for Minecraft,
and we're just like conditioned to think of those as multi-plats,
or like PC originated franchises too, right? Like Fallout's legacy on PC and those other games as well, right? But I think also, we've seen Microsoft do interesting stuff in the past, and they've kind of been hyping, especially coming into this new console season, like, oh, we're not focused on exclusives or whatever. So for them to turn around and be like, now these are all our exclusives is really funny to me, and also kind of awful. But
the Minecraft thing, Minecraft is still available on multiple platforms. But then the only thing in my head that like argues against it, and again, that's why we're asking the question, right? Is because Microsoft, we don't know what they'll do, so it's worth asking. You're not going to ask with Sony when we know what they're going to do. It doesn't mean we like it. It doesn't mean that I think exclusives are good. I just know what Sony's gonna do. But the thing that keeps popping up in my head is like, if Phil keeps saying exclusives are bad, if Minecraft has been on multiple platforms, then maybe they could. But then why did you spend $7.4 million? Billion?
Billion.
Yeah.
$billion if you didn't want them to be exclusives? That's so much money.
Right. There's no point, although, unless you just want to keep Game Pass fed, but even
they
then
could have made a deal like they did with EA.
Right, exactly. No, he wants I guess when they said we're not focused on exclusives, they meant we're not focused on some exclusives, we're focused on all the exclusives.
Or launch exclusives.
They won't be exclusives anymore if we own everything.
We don't care about
we
don't care about launch exclusives of anymore because we don't have any. So this is like it's like a real junior high argument.
What is it? They have Medium,
Scorn,
and Scorn, right? I think
Tetris Effect.
Tetris Effect. You're right. Yes,
the other
Tetris
thing.
Effect, multiplayer, Medium, and Scorn. I keep forgetting.
But I think it's convenient for them to kind of like make that stance and then have this huge buyout. This is certainly one of the most surprising news stories in like the last 10 years of games. I feel like I haven't seen as many like news pundits and stuff like as shocked and like shooken to the core about like just hearing like we woke up Monday morning or whatever and it's like, oh yeah, Microsoft is buying Bethesda, and the rumors were always like, oh, they're gonna buy a Japanese studio, they're gonna buy Capcom, they're gonna buy a middle tier studio, certainly not like one of the largest and fastest growing video game publishers of the last 10 years.
Lots of calls for Sony to respond and buy Capcom or something like that.
It's not even close to the same thing.
Sony doesn't have Microsoft money.
No, that's and I wanted to bring up that point because let's look at everybody's revenue from last year, and this will give you an idea of how only Microsoft could have made that deal. Sony's revenue in 2019, and this is for all of Sony, not just PlayStation, all of Sony, $77 billion. Pretty cool. Nintendo's net sales, $10 billion for last year. Microsoft revenue for 2019. Let's see. Shit, I had it.
I'm on pins and needles right now.
I know. What is it?
Hold on. Microsoft revenue for 2019. It's absolutely insane. $125 billion.
Holy crap.
So it's like, it's not even, I mean, they're playing a different ball game.
I mean, they could buy everyone if they wanted.
You're right. They totally could.
But even
they paid this in cash.
Remember when also though, like the Xbox department was like it's not, I don't even know if I would consider it a flagship department for like Windows or Microsoft and like all the other things that they do and places that they make money. But $7 billion out of that $120 billion is still kind of a lot. I guess it's yearly though, right? So
out of the total revenue ever. But I mean, that must have been an interesting meeting. You're right, because Xbox, considering where Microsoft actually makes their money, is a very small department, whereas for Sony, PlayStation is a large department. Even though I think Sony, they start in TVs, speakers.
Yeah.
I mean the electronics, Walkmans.
Maybe.
That's what they made all their money.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I would have loved to have seen that meeting where like Phil Spencer and a bunch of the Microsoft or the Xbox team rather go to Microsoft and are like, we need $7.4 billion. They're like, for that subscription service that people are paying $5 a month for? Yes. What? It's pretty nuts. And I also like do want to say I wonder where this whole thing is concerned. Often when a big company buys a slightly smaller company, there will be a lot of layoffs. I believe they acquired like 2,300 new staff members. So I'm hoping that doesn't happen. Microsoft is big and people can be reallocated. So we're still yet to see about that kind of thing. Or if they'll shutter some of those studios, because obviously that's the thing that Microsoft has done before. Shutting down Lionhead is like top 10 anime betrayals, and I haven't forgiven them for that. So there are definitely issues there. One thing that I actually think will probably work in the favor of the gamer is I feel like probably outside of Doom, and I still love everything Arcane makes, there's definitely a perception at the very least that Bethesda studios specifically have declined in quality more recently, and I would guess that that is because of the board at ZeniMax, which, to be clear, is not changing. I don't think they're changing anyone who's actually on the board of that company. But in theory, when you have a parent company with a tremendous amount of money who's just bought you for $7.4 billion, you have a system like Game Pass, which makes it so that individual sales and microtransaction style revenues don't matter anywhere near as much. I promise you they're not going to put fucking microtransactions in Double Fine games or in Hellblade 2.
Right.
Then in theory, I feel like Bethesda Studios, where Fallout and Elder Scrolls are concerned, could maybe come back to... It's not even that far back, but the quality of like the Fallout 3 era. I didn't think 4 was as good, and obviously Fallout 76 is a mess.
Yeah.
In theory, those games could be focused more on being video games and less on being services.
That's a good point.
That's a question in the joke kind of that's going around. It's like, how long will it take Microsoft to make Fallout 76 good? And I think we made that on the panel or something, or somebody asked that question on their RTX panel this week. But I think it's funny. It's like a funny question, but also my question is like, does Fallout 76 even get made under Microsoft? And like, you know, it's interesting to have now, like, there's probably a director of Microsoft's creative studios or Microsoft Studios that is now in charge of a department that you know, checks the quality of games and is just keeping an eye, producers and that sort of thing, that kind of dialogue that goes back and forth. And Microsoft generally in the purchases and stuff that they've made so far, like a lot of the messaging that we've been hearing is like, oh yeah, they've been really cool. They kind of like Double Fine, for example, like, oh, they're just going to let us do our Double Fine thing and then publish that under like kind of the Microsoft brand or whatever, because they're now our parent company. So yeah,
Greg Miller, this was I think maybe last year, but he was talking about how he had spoken to someone at one of the studios that got acquired, and I don't know if he named it, but they did say much of what you just said, that Microsoft was being super cool and basically like, what game do you want to make? Cool, go make it. Yeah. And like, if that's their attitude, like, that's great. And,
I wonder how true that is across the board though, because I've had someone at Double Fine tell me that too. Which is awesome, especially for Double Fine. We don't want them making like corporate video games. That would be awful. But I always wonder with Rare, like pre-Microsoft, Rare was my favorite game studio ever. Probably still technically is. Yeah. Like before they were bought by Microsoft, Rare made the best games ever. And I wonder, obviously, I feel like Viva Pinata is a little bit of an exception, but then, you know, I love Sea of Thieves for the record and still frequently play it. However, it's still a service. It isn't the game that I wanted from that pre-Microsoft Rare studio. So I wonder how much... Yeah. It's entirely possible that Rare wanted to make that game, but I don't know if that was a Microsoft directive of you have to make this thing this way. And the only other thing that I know is that Microsoft, for a time, I don't know if this is still true now even, was picky about what engine studios could use, and that was a part of some of their studio closures or games not being finished, was that Microsoft said, we want to have a full catalog of engines. You need to make this on this engine. And then the dev team, this is what I heard happened with Scalebound. The dev team was like, we just can't get it to run. Like, it was that one would have been Platinum
like with EA and the Frostbite engine. Like,
but Microsoft wanted like to have different games on every engine. Like they wanted like a portfolio of engines. And Platinum couldn't get
that's wild. Yeah, that's
Scalebound to run.
That's the first time I've heard about that being the reason for Scalebound. It's always like a big mystery.
It's maybe the first time I've said it publicly.
Okay.
So there you go.
Hot scoops right here on Sundays.
There we go. And Rare, you're right. I don't think Rare is a bad studio now by any means, but it's also not what it was when it was like, a top, you know, making like some all-time great games. So that's a good point.
You might return to it with Everwild a little bit. I think that game looks kind of cool and unique and creative.
Again, Sea of Thieves rules and is some of the most fun I've ever had in a video game. Genuinely, like, Sea of Thieves is so fun. It's just not what I wanted Rare to make. And I say that as someone who still loves that studio, and I have a lot of friends at that studio, but it's still like not, you know, Perfect Dark and Banjo-Tooie. It's like, it's not the same thing. So it's, I just don't know if Rare like pitched to make Sea of Thieves and that's what they wanted to make as a multiplayer game that does have microtransactions, which, full disclosure, I am staunchly against microtransactions, but recently did spend $5 on Sea of Thieves. I broke my streak. I hadn't bought any in like 7 years. Maybe 8 even. No microtransactions, no season passes, no battle passes, none of it. I don't even buy DLC.
Oh,
I bought a
jeez.
dog in Sea of Thieves. But I don't know if that's what that team wanted to do or if it was what Microsoft told them to do. It's hard to say, and I don't know
Yeah.
how they feel about it. I don't know if Everwild is also going to be multiplayer. I don't know what that fucking game is.
I think going back to your point about like boards of directors kind of are usually, or marketing or whatever, are usually the ones that push those types of monetization structures. I think when you get $7.4 billion for a company, those boards generally are going to get a chunk of that, right? And they may become suddenly disinterested or ready to move on to the next company or the next thing.
Yeah.
When that happens, you do see that sometimes, like with the BioWare doctors, right? Like they pieced out. One of them just makes a beer YouTube now or something, or used to.
Really?
Yeah, for sure. Dr.
Nice.
Gray,
I mean,
that
I look at the boards of directors like relatively often, because when you look at who's in charge of a company, it generally tells you what the company wants at that given time. And I know the ZeniMax board is full of businessmen rather than devs.
Yeah.
It is full of people who are focused on making money rather than developers, which is always a thing that concerns me. Like, let's see what Robert A. Altman's he's, chairman and CEO. What's your... he's an American business executive.
Yeah, sure. And ZeniMax is also very well known for just shutting things down, like pretty readily if it's not
Yeah, I
working.
suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah, he serves on the advisory board of a law school. He's basically like, the guy who's, wow, he's 72. Still going, made a great deal at the ripe age of 72. Nice work, man. But yeah, he's basically just a businessman, and I think that's the case for pretty much all of them, if I read correctly.
It's generally you'll find like one, or maybe if you're really lucky, two people who at least present as if they have an interest in games. I think like,
That's why Todd Howard helps a lot.
Yeah, that's why Todd Howard helps a lot. Yeah, like stuff like people like that, people who have like face in the company enough to climb those ranks in that way. But I don't know if that's the case with Bethesda always. And I mean, from the outside looking in, we'd be like, yeah, throw Phil Spencer on a board for anything game related. It's probably fine. But
well, Phil did start in programming, right? I believe that he did.
I think that's
obviously,
right.
He's vice president now, but
maybe like Peter Moore is a better example. I don't know. I mean, I know they all have deep gaming roots, but like that's the idea, right? Like you want somebody who splits the difference somehow, at least understands.
He developed Encarta.
Yeah.
Phil Spencer.
Oh, there you go.
Remember Encarta?
Yeah.
No.
Hell yeah, dude. No? Oh, dude.
It had a dope box art. Yeah.
It was basically it's an encyclopedia.
Yes.
But it's like interactive and it had some fun video games. And it was basically like a learning software. I would say it was a multimedia encyclopedia. It was super fun as a kid.
Okay.
I was like, I'm gonna learn about
cool.
butterflies. Let's boot up Encarta.
I will say, like most educational games of that era, the box art was way cooler than the game was fun.
Yeah,
but it was
super pretty.
It was nice. It was cool, I guess.
Yeah.
I do think getting back to the acquisition, I think this is a sign of, you were talking about Xbox being kind of a relatively small part of Microsoft. It does feel like now they are really serious about trying to get Xbox and Game Pass to be the first kind of Netflix gaming service, which it kind of is at this point, but I think they're really trying to maybe muscle out everybody else. And it makes me think of what Phil Spencer said earlier this year when he said, we don't look at Nintendo and Sony as our true competitors.
Right.
We're looking at Amazon and Google. And I think this is real proof of that. Speaking of which, breaking news, Amazon just announced their cloud gaming service called Luna. This just happened. I'm reading a Verge article
Moments
right
ago.
now.
Hot news.
It's called Luna. Not sure when it's going to launch widely, but it'll be on PC, Mac, Fire TV, and iPhone, iPad, with the Android version planned for after the launch. Intro price of $5.99 a month during early access. So it looks like they're already trying to undercut
How did
Stadia.
they get theirs on? Maybe I don't understand that financing system. How did they get theirs on iOS?
Yeah, I don't know. When Google didn't.
Microsoft can't. Maybe you can't make purchases yet because I believe that the test pilot program you could have xCloud because it's in beta. Maybe?
Yeah, that's probably why they got so far. And then when they were going to flip the switch, Apple was like, no, you can't do
no.
that. Yeah.
Amazon, they said more than 100 games will be available and launch. So it's already more than Stadia. Launch titles: Resident Evil 7, Control, Panzer Dragoon, A Plague Tale: Innocence, The Surge 2, Yooka-Laylee.
Funny that it's just a lot of games that are on Game Pass. I wonder if that's like a thing that these studios are just like, sure.
Yeah, I can't imagine entering that market space now with Game Pass being so rampant and xCloud around the corner. Like, they've already got the deep hooks, they've got the infrastructure. It's like, I don't know, it's maybe not the same because I think that Xbox and Microsoft has such a lead on it, but it's like trying to go up against World of Warcraft during the MMO era. Like, you're
Amazon also has a fucking lot of money though.
Right.
But
they have their own cloud infrastructure
so does Google,
too.
Oh, great cloud infrastructure. Yeah. Is right. So does Google. That's true. But Google are routinely stupid. I feel like they frequently are like,
that is true.
Google Plus? No, they don't. No, they don't. Get rid of it. They didn't want it. I don't know what Google's fucking doing.
Speaking of big partnerships, Amazon's apparently partnering with Ubisoft for a specific gaming channel. They said they'll have access to new titles when it launches, like Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Far Cry 6.
Interesting.
Yeah, so same...
it's an EA Play.
Same day they release, yeah. So it'll have Twitch integration, which is obviously Twitch is owned by Amazon. So yeah, we got another big player.
Streaming wars. Wow.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure that overall Microsoft has more money than Amazon.
Interesting.
Yeah, I can't say without looking, but it's not
they
even
certainly have more revenues.
It's not even as much about the money as it is about like the deep ties to the industry, understanding how kind of those deals and things work, understanding how to look out for the upcoming and like awesome indie things that people are going to play, as well as like producing and manufacturing your own AAA games that would entice people to come and join your service. It's just like there's so many things that they just already have a handle on, and I feel like even
Amazon has so much money.
Yeah, it's a lot.
And they've convinced investors that they don't need to run at a profit. Like, it's the most brilliant thing ever.
So how much money does Amazon earn in 1 year? Apparently, this is sourced by CNN. Last year, they made $232.9 billion in revenue.
Okay.
Of that, $10 billion was net profit. So obviously that's different, but that's still a lot of fucking revenue.
Right.
Jesus.
Right. They're like controlling all retail. I mean, it's like...
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, and I mean, to your point about Microsoft having, more knowledge of gaming, Amazon have released 2 games?
Yeah, with that studio, they had that...
Bleeding Edge, I want to say, is one.
Amazon games.
And then there was like an esports one before
Crucible, the online shooter. Yeah.
That went pretty good for them, right?
No, it went terribly.
Yes,
it went back into close phase.
Yeah.
They're working on that MMO called New World. That's been delayed till next year. So
wasn't that recently out in beta? I think
you might be right. Yes, good memory.
Okay, so yeah, I played Crucible. And we played it for Funhouse, and it calls itself a team shooter, but it's absolutely what's the term? You got your lanes, you
like
got your
MOBA?
Dotas, it's a MOBA.
Yeah.
Absolutely a MOBA.
A first player MOBA.
To be,
Don't die, whatever you do.
Shooter.
It's like
just
the worst
a MOBA.
thing you could do. Yeah.
Right. So like it took us an hour to understand the game, as MOBAs are. And I did actually enjoy it. I think the biggest issue with it is that they just thought that they didn't need to market it. For some reason,
yeah.
Which is very strange.
That's when you can tell you're new to the industry.
Yeah. Like, why did you think that anyone was going to play this? We played it because we need video games to play, but most people are fine just playing World of Warcraft forever.
Yeah.
Fortnite now, I guess. It was really strange. I think that people have been playing New World on Twitch, and I want to just confirm that, make sure I'm not thinking of a different game, but I'm pretty sure that it's gotten a relatively positive reception so far.
Yeah, I just wonder how much money they would dump into it and not do it. Like, even Sony with like PlayStation Now, like, it's kind of like that conversation has just been so eclipsed by Game Pass, and they're like very much in the market of video games. Obviously, it's PlayStation, right? And we're not, a lot of the times on these podcasts and things that we do, we're not even talking about that Sony has that service. It's like, and then there's PlayStation Now and PlayStation Plus or whatever. But I think it'll be interesting to see. It's generally when new competitors enter the space, it's good for everyone because it it causes prices to be more competitive. It causes like the creative solutions that companies do to make their services more attractive. It pushes all of that forward. So hopefully, you know, them coming in, hopefully they have like some cool stuff, but hopefully they come in with like some exclusives or something. I just think about the Stadia launch and how much better that could have been, and it seems like it's going to be a mirror episode with this Amazon thing.
Yeah.
I mean, even Stadia is an interesting one though, because I still I have my Stadia, I guess by Google Chromecast. I don't know what they call everything. I still have it plugged into my TV, and I still use it occasionally, mostly Destiny, because my experience has been positive. It works.
Yeah, me too.
And being able to play Destiny wherever you want is great, but I guess now I can do that with xCloud.
Yeah, but now you can do that with xCloud, and then
preference for that service overall.
Right.
They really blew their opportunity to be the first out of the gate, because it felt like that's what they wanted to do, and they did. But yeah, they just didn't give a compelling enough reason. I play Stadia off and on too, just because I think the technology is interesting. Yeah, and I play a lot of Destiny on it. It does work. If you're in the right circumstances, and I got Google Fiber, so it's nice, but there's still not enough games. It's still not, it still doesn't have like that compelling. It's like $10 a month, but that on Game Pass.
And you have to buy some of the games as well.
Yeah, it's a storefront. I mean, you get, if you're a pro subscriber and you're $10 a month, you get like Destiny and a handful of other things, but it's not worth $10 a month, I don't think.
I feel like Google and Amazon being in this space have problems that Microsoft and Sony don't, where they don't have PR. I mean, of course they have PR departments for Google and Amazon, but I mean that where people who frequently play video games are concerned, we're like, fuck Google and Amazon. Like virtually everyone is like, I'd way prefer to do it with Microsoft or Sony, because those are the brands that you've played things on for the last 20 years.
Right.
So why would we want to go to Amazon or Google? And it doesn't seem like they're trying to break through that either. I know Google is like starting to do a little bit more advertising, but in my head, Google is an advertising company, a search engine, and YouTube, which the advertising I don't like. YouTube, pretty bad rap. Obviously, we use it frequently, but I don't think anyone who uses it. Yeah, everyone's like, we kind of think you suck a bit, but we're still here because
everyone on YouTube hates YouTube.
Yeah, pretty much. Is that the same for Twitch? I don't know.
Yeah, that is the Twitch angle is what makes this really, really interesting, right? Is like if they can integrate this stuff. Obviously, they own Twitch. Amazon owns Twitch, so if they can integrate the marketing into Twitch, and they have people in that space who could come aboard and help them launch a streaming service. Obviously, they could just start like just dumping all of the ads onto Twitch, and people would hear about it and know about it that way. And
I think the appeal, sorry to cut you off there, is more about how it works with what Stadia wanted to do with YouTube, which is the idea of you see your favorite Let's Player playing a game, and then you click a button and you just immediately play that game in your browser as well. I think that was like the thing that like made Stadia exceptionally compelling is the idea that it would just be so easy for a kid watching someone play Fortnite to hit play Fortnite. And Stadia is cool. When I like go to my search bar and I type in stadia.com, I can just immediately hit play on a game because it's already tied to your Gmail. You don't have to sign in. Like, it's so fast. But of course, it only works for me. It doesn't work for a lot of people. Works for Brian, apparently. Doesn't work for a lot of other people. Twitch, I guess, would be the same thing where, you could have someone play a game and have a recommend button that maybe, like, people who are Twitch partners would get a cut for, like, having a button available where you can just immediately play a game. Like, that's the thing that I think that they're trying to tap into is how do we make more money off of these content creators who are making us content for free and love being on our platform? How do we just monetize them even more?
Yeah, I love the idea also of like, say if there's a popular streamer like playing a game, then like they could just like hand the controls off essentially to someone else just in the chat, like for weird stuff like that.
Stadia's doing that.
Yeah, Stadia's doing that kind of thing.
Integration stuff.
Yeah. And that stuff's cool. Really, really cool. But even still, that audience, that Twitch audience is it doesn't seem like it in our world. It's huge, but it is a smaller piece of that like overall like people who play games pie, which I think is like the Stadia audience, or was supposed to be like people who travel and people who maybe fallen out of video games, but now it's so easy for them to just to pick it up while they're on an airplane or a train or bus or whatever, and they can do it.
Why wouldn't they just play mobile games?
Yeah.
Why would you go with Stadia? it's just, I don't know. Like, I'm happy to have these services like you, Brian. I think the tech is really cool. Like, anything that is a step forward in tech in the games industry, I'm immediately interested in, and I want to try all of it, and I want to experience it, and, get a feel for what it is and the direction the industry's headed in. But I just don't know if they're like, well, we're going to target casual gamers. Are you, though? Because, again, won't they just play mobile games? But then I do know when I spoke to Aaron Greenberg from the marketing team at Microsoft, he did bring up, we want xCloud to be in the countries where people don't even have consoles. So they're trying to tap into video game markets where people don't have anything at all.
Right. And that was a similar thing like what cell phones allowed countries in like Africa, for example, who didn't have a lot of the old school telecommunications infrastructure, but cell phones just let them hop over all that. And they're wildly popular, and they use them for everything. And so, maybe that's a similar kind of play they're thinking of with cloud gaming.
I think so.
It's going to be interesting. I mean, it makes me wonder about the future of hardware, if this really takes off. I mean, obviously there's going to be, people are still going to have PCs forever and all that, but I don't know.
Maybe not.
Maybe not. Stadia really did. I mean, again, it depends on your internet connection, but if that's good, it's a pretty good experience, and I can see and the portability of it and the ability to, like you said, just play it wherever, like Destiny or kind of a full-fledged console game, pretty friggin' cool. And it's just the tech is just fascinating, and it is going to be interesting to see how Amazon and Google adapt to a unique industry, because right now it does seem like, at least with Google, it's like they're just a rich guy coming in and just throwing money around. Yeah. And they don't really know what they're doing. They're just like, oh, I want to get into horse racing. Okay, well, let me do this and this, and I don't know.
Because they don't have to worry very much. They make so much money that it's like, I don't know, whatever, who cares?
They can buy executives from the other companies to tell them what it's all about.
Whatever. Doesn't matter. Yeah, I think one thing with cloud gaming that like I always think is so funny, that I love so much, is the ability to play something immediately and not have to wait for it to download and install. And I'm always like, oh, yes, you mean like the PS3 360 era? It's like those that was the thing we had all the time.
You could just play the game. Know. It is funny, but the whole model is really old-fashioned. It's the old supercomputer and dummy terminal model, basically, which is ancient. That's like from the dawn of computing. But anyway, let's move on. While we're talking about hardware, the Xbox Series X and the S went up for pre-order this week. It was messy. It was very messy. There were sellouts immediately, problems with the retailer websites. The Microsoft store went down. There was lots of errors. Microsoft declared victory, though, saying that it was historical and it was record-breaking. They'll have more ahead of launch. But, Microsoft definitely tried to act like they were going to be less chaotic than the PS5's pre-order launch, but pretty much the same thing.
What's really cool about this kind of generation of launch consoles is that both Microsoft and Sony are providing their own means for which you can just buy directly from them. Yes. And I have to say that is really nice. Like, I know it didn't work perfectly well with the Sony stuff. People are still maybe waiting for emails to win like a PS5 lottery, essentially, where they set aside units to give to people. So, but just imagine being one of those people and being taken out of the rat race. You just get an email that day. It's like, hey, we've got your PS5 for you. It's on lock. And I hope what happens is going forward, and if we have more generations, talking about cloud gaming and all that, but more hardware generations going forward, which I'm sure we will, that both companies do kind of take this into account, and I hope that people are using those services. That's how I pre-ordered. That's how I got an Xbox Series X, is through Microsoft Store, and it almost worked for my phone on the first try. Like, basically, when 8:00 hit that morning, I just on my phone was in the app, went to the Microsoft Store, and just went through there, basically like. This is a bunch of just offerings like which one do you want to pre-order, blah, blah, blah. You can add accessories or whatever. And it almost worked, but the cart stalled out, right? Like it just...
I love that you're like, it almost worked.
It was like so close. And it
what did they tell you? You almost got it, buddy.
Yeah. Well, I was checking out, like it would basically hit checkout, and then that's when it broke. Yeah. But I was so surprised that it just like on my phone was able to do this like like generally this Herculean lift of like, I'm gonna get in there and get a launch console.
Right.
And for PlayStation, I mean, maybe it helped that we knew there was a date and time for Xbox, and whereas like PlayStation stuff were kind of caught off guard. I try not just to generally, I try not to buy, that's just a weird thing I have, I try not to buy things from Walmart and Amazon now also, if I can avoid it, but
I
like,
can probably be doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it limits like your options for like pre-order stuff. So it's probably why I didn't get a PS5. I definitely tried, but yeah, like it's been interesting in that way. But yes, definitely just as messy. It took me about an hour of trying after that, like really close call to actually like secure an Xbox. But yeah, I just can imagine if you have like a regular job where that's not like important for you to have that thing, or it's like you can't spend an hour of your workday trying to buy
You
video
missed
games.
it. Yeah, gone.
It's gone.
Like
yeah.
instantly.
It sucks. Yeah. So it's still definitely a mess, but
yeah. And the PS5, the other one of the other stories, not a lot of digital ones out there.
Oh,
yeah. They talked to, this was informal, but Ars Technica and Eurogamer polled some GameStops, and I forget who the UK retailer was, but it's their allotments are very heavily weighted towards the regular sort of disk drive PS5s. Average basically 75% disk drive PS5s, 25% digital. I think Ars Technica polled like
I can
close
tell you
to
this
10.
is the same for the Xbox Series S.
wow.
Oh yeah, okay.
From a conversation I had recently, they are taking the Xbox Series S at a loss, and thus there are less of them. They would prefer you buy the X.
Yeah, that makes sense, but I am still really surprised by this, especially when I think there was a point in time when the Xbox One might not have had a disk drive at all. Do you remember this? Was that a real thing that was going to happen? And
Yeah,
they had
Probably under Matric. Sure.
Yeah, and they had to go back on it, right?
Yeah, probably.
So I think
at launch, yeah.
yeah. So to see them kind of enter this market, it seems like the right way to do it, right? They have to dip their toe in. They can't piss off the retailers. Obviously,
Right.
that's a death knell, a digital-only console for any retailer who, specifically GameStop, who makes money from used sales. I think like Best Buy used to have a used game service. I don't know if they still do that, trade-in service. I think Target at one point was doing something similar.
No. But that's just all profit.
Yeah, but they
Basically.
generally are known for, new games. I think they did try it for a bit there. I can't remember. But yeah, I think it's interesting, and it seems like a better tactic to have these two options. But I'm surprised by how less there are, especially because the PS5 specifically is $100 cheaper, right? You would think that's the holiday system seller. That's the one you're going to undercut your competition on, because you have a full-fledged next-gen console. It's going to be $100 cheaper than the Xbox Series X, and that's just the place you want to be, right? If you're in a console war, I guess.
Yeah.
I think it's probably like, you're right, but if I'm to try to figure it out, it's probably more about the perception that they have one that's cheaper than an X, but then they still intend to sell the disc version. When people go in, they have this positive brand association of that thing. I studied marketing as part of my degree, right?
You.
Yeah, I mean, it's so manipulative. Like, there's so much of it that, like, it's one of the most valuable parts of studying journalism was studying marketing, which is intended to teach you how to do journalism better so that you understand marketing. And a lot of value is just perception, or a lot of pricing is just perception. So it's like, if they have I wish they were different, like more succinct names. Like, I actually like saying S and X over diskless and disc.
Yeah.
But the full price PS5 is like, probably the idea is like, well, these two both do 4K. That one's cheaper than the Xbox Series X, but this one's the only one available. I'm going to go with Sony, because then you have that positive association with it anyway. Whereas the S kind of screwed itself potentially in terms of marketing. I guess we'll see when sales actually come out, by being too cheap. That people are always like, well, why is it that cheap? Oh, it's only 1080. Oh, I don't want that, even if they don't know the difference.
Yeah, I think that's it makes me want to ask you about the whole, there was a big social Twitter debacle and people writing articles about how the Xbox One X is up like 700% or whatever on the Amazon store page because of its like renewed interest, and people being confused by the titles of the different boxes and all that. And it's just,
supposedly that percentage being up isn't quite that literal. I should look into it, but
Yeah, some were saying that's not actual sales, that's just page
views.
visits.
And
I don't know.
related searches indicate that people are more interested in that. So apparently it's not quite that literal. I have no doubt that some people bought the wrong console.
Oh, yeah. No doubt. And they also brought up, well, the One X is out of, they stopped producing them in July. There's not that many left. So even if 747% is a huge number, but that might not be that many.
Maybe they sold 70 instead of
Speaking of the next gen Xboxes, though, Best Buy just put up the expansion cards on pre-order because Microsoft is doing the proprietary thing. They partnered with Seagate on it. The 1 terabyte expansion card, $220. So that's gonna add a little to your Xbox. Wait. Maybe I had that wrong.
I was seeing $200.
Got to be $100.
Yeah, I was seeing $200 as well the other day.
Let me see. $219.99.
Yep. Oh my god! So I'm not sure about this because I spoke about it on the Xcast not too long ago, and then someone corrected us, but then another source said it didn't. So you can still just use your regular terabyte hard drive, right? Or do you have to have that card?
See, I don't know.
I believe that expansion. Okay, so I think you can have a regular hard drive if you want to just use it as storage and you can swap things back and forth. Yep. But if you want to run games at spec, you need that proprietary one because it's not just just a standard hard drive. It's like basically an NVMe slot. Like
it's the optimal solution.
Yeah, it's like it goes directly to the console's like processor basically. I'm not good at tech. Don't quote me on that. But I do know that it's not just like a regular ass hard drive that you can just drop in there.
Yeah,
that's
why
more
it's functionality to it.
Yeah, I guess I just wasn't sure if hard drives would just flat out not work, which I can't see being a thing that Microsoft would do this generation.
Yeah.
If it's just the only solution to running games at spec, like you said, then I think that makes a bit more sense. 200, whew, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, you're paying that proprietary fee cost of also whatever tech is in that thing that makes it be able to run so fast. So
right.
That's probably why. Otherwise it'd be like 100 or 90 or 80 or whatever.
Damn.
But think about memory cards. Like, remember memory cards, y'all?
I know.
The battle days.
It's basically
the
like
Duke
this.
controller has a slot for memory cards in the back of it.
Oh, that's right.
Well, I mean,
So
come
cute.
on. Nintendo 64 did that. They got
That was literally an expansion pack, and then you had your Rumble pack.
Yeah, different packs.
Stuff. How times have changed.
I know. All right, we will, what else? Is there anything else to talk about before?
If you want to talk about the Activision hack, I don't know.
Yeah, the Activision thing. So this has not been confirmed, but I wanted to bring this up. There's a lot of smoke around, there's a pretty widespread belief that Activision has gotten hacked, specifically Call of Duty accounts. It's been this has not been reported like in sort of the mainstream gaming press, but some people have said yes, there was a huge hack, 500,000 accounts, Call of Duty accounts got hacked. Activision says no, it hasn't happened, but I did some just looking around on a lot of the COD forums and Reddit and Activision support. There were a lot of people complaining that they had gotten hacked and that someone had changed their info and all this. And then Activision support put out a couple days ago, if you think you might be at risk, here's some tips to safeguard your account. So I don't know. I don't, it could be, these things Nintendo got breached earlier this year. Obviously the big PSN hack several years ago. It wouldn't be out of the question. Interesting side note, though, Activision does not offer two-factor authentication.
So stupid. Why?
So,
oh my God.
It's out there. It's not clear if it's true or not, but if so, 500,000 accounts, that would be pretty big.
Yeah, we've even recently gotten tips about a big like Xbox hack too, where accounts have been, then all they need is the username and people have been getting in that way. And then And that one particularly, I think people were like using people's accounts to say like horribly racist things, but
Excellent.
which doesn't surprise me. But this Activision situation is really weird. And usually when something like this does get called out, the company usually takes a day or two and then says like, oh yeah, information has been breached, and the mass emails go out. I mean, especially in the case of the PlayStation one, which was like horrendously bad. So I guess, are we just waiting for that email, do you think, Brian? Are we just waiting for that news story of like Activision admits there was a breach? Or do you think, I mean, it's speculation at this point, right? Because it hasn't been confirmed by them, but there's like smoke.
But what's the source for this over 500,000 accounts? Like, it seems like it's just Okami who said apparently over 500K accounts. So then what's their source?
Right,
exactly. What is the source
and they haven't says. Yeah, it's very sort of obscure leakers and YouTube people. So, again, I think it should be taken with a grain of salt, but there does seem to be something going on.
Generally, like, I don't believe anyone on the internet about things. I feel like that's like a safe way to go. But we have seen a lot of people come forward about this. And at the very least, I hope that the conversation and us continuing to have the conversation, like, not that Inside Gaming's got a mass influence, but, I mean, at the very least, people discussing this will hopefully encourage Activision to have two-factor authentication.
Right. If nothing else, do that.
Yeah.
People deserve that. Like, just do it.
That's just basic. Come on.
Not that hard. But I also love that, you can't fucking reply to that tweet. You can't reply to Activision's support tweet. They turned off replies.
Yeah, they don't want to hear it. All right, we will get to the questions in just a second. But first, guys, let's talk HelloFresh. Now, HelloFresh is where you can get fresh, pre-measured ingredients and mouth-watering seasonal recipes delivered right to your door with HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit. It lets you skip those trips to the grocery store. Maybe not such a bad idea these days. It makes home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. Delivery right to your doorstep for easy home cooking with the family. Lots of people are cooking more these days. I know I am. And boy, cooking channels on Twitch have like skyrocketed. The recipe is easy to follow, quick to make, simple steps and pictures to guide you along the way. I'm a pictures guy. I like lots of pictures. You can save 40% by using HelloFresh versus shopping at your local store, and it's more convenient. They got gourmet recipe like their balsamic fig sirloin, over 60% cheaper than an average meal out. They offer so many delicious options every week to help you break out of your recipe rut. Try new things. There's something for everyone. Low calorie, vegetarian, kid friendly. So I assume that's just hot dogs and chicken nuggets. Over 90% of ingredients are sourced directly from growers to ensure the freshest recipes are delivered right to your door. They also help you live more sustainably. It's pre-portioned, so you're not overbuying. That's a burden on the planet and your wallet. The package they use is to ship your food almost entirely from recyclable content. Come on, that's great. All right, here's what you have to do, guys. Go to hellofresh.com/sendnews80 and use code SENDNEWS80, that's all one word, SENDNEWS 80, the number 80, to get a total of $80 off your first month. Come on, you can't beat that, including free shipping on your first box. Additional restrictions apply. Please visit hellofresh.com for details. So there you go. And then one more time, let's give a big shout out to AT&T for helping us throw a huge RTX this year. Without them, the show would not have been possible. It was RTX at home. We needed AT&T's 5G network. It's now available nationwide, guys. Whether you're at home or on the go, you will enjoy more coverage in more places. Plus, AT&T, they don't make it complicated. 5G access is included in all the best consumer unlimited plans at no extra cost. For more information on AT&T 5G, visit att.com/5G. And yes, RTX at home has been so much fun. Big props to AT&T for making it all possible. We did our panel a few days ago. That was kind of a disaster, but a fun disaster, I guess. Yes, complete chaos. That's how we make the sausage at Inside Game. That's how it's done. All right, let's go to questions. And I was looking, we had some good ones.
Yeah, there's some really good ones this week.
There's some thoughtful ones. Sometimes the pickings are a little slim. This is not one of those. Let me pull it up. Hold on. Hold your horses. Christian Simmers asks, this current gen has been dominated by games as a service. Last gen was the FPS gen. Before that, the action game generation. And the 90s was dominated by the RPG. It sure was. What do you think will be the genre/killer app of the next generation of consoles?
Did we skip Battle Royale already? Is that not a possibility?
Yeah,
is that not a thing?
Battle Royale is definitely a huge part.
But I always look at Battle Royale as just another multiplayer, like a King of the Hill. We shouldn't be seeing it as a new type of game. It is just an add-on to a first-person shooter, really.
Yeah, I don't know, but I don't think I've ever bought just a King of the Hill game, right? I mean, does Fall Guys fall into that
I would love
too?
a King of the Hill game. Hank Hill?
Yeah. There it is.
I mean, no, but I don't think that will be the thing anymore, is that Battle Royale, will going forward just be something that exists within other multiplayer games rather than needing to be just a standalone thing. I mean, Fortnite still has another mode.
Can it be successful
right now?
Can it be successful if it's not that focused and dialed in though to just one specific game that people are just constantly focusing on?
I think as long as it's standalone, it's okay.
And providing it as a service? I don't know. Yeah. I see what you're saying, I think.
So generally when it comes to industry trends, you're best to look at Ubisoft specifically because Ubisoft have this internal team who are just dedicated to figuring out what is going to be trending in 5 years from now. They're cool. People are going to I don't know, vampires in 5 years, so we need to make a vampire game at that point in time. And generally they're right, and what they do also seems to align with TV trends. It's fucking crazy, and I don't know how they do it. But
it is weird, when zombies were a huge thing 10 years ago.
Zombie
Left
U.
4 Dead, man. It's Left 4 Dead.
But that's not you. That's...
No, that's Valve.
Yeah, that's
completely
Valve.
different thing. But just anytime zombie games come up, I think about it. Whatever Ubisoft is doing is usually what's going to be popular. So what are Ubisoft pushing very hard right now? They've been doing some different shit. We don't know what's happened to Skull and Bones. Gods and Monsters is obviously another that fucking renamed. Immortals Phoenix Rising is another.
That's a title.
RPG effectively is a lot of what Ubisoft is making right now.
It's like a Breath of the Wild style
absolutely,
thing,
they
right?
Blatantly said Breath of the Wild inspired RPG.
That's a good inspiration. I got no problem with that.
Yeah, what else is Ubisoft doing? I mean, don't know if we're getting more pirate shit.
Is it almost sim stuff? I mean, not sim stuff, but I think about Cyberpunk being big. We're gonna probably associate
big
it with
RPG.
this next gen. Yeah, big open world RPG. Maybe it's that style of RPG is now the thing, because we're getting Spider-Man, another Spider-Man aside from Miles Morales, right? That's coming in the new generation. Horizon Zero Dawn, obviously, and these are just PlayStation games at this point. But they definitely
big
have
open worlds,
big open worlds, RPG mechanics in there, styles of progression. I don't know. Maybe people just really love Among Us so much that now we're just in the werewolf gen, and every game is going to be werewolf or mafia.
They're great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Social. What are they called? Social D. It's something. Social D games. What is it? There's a fucking word for it. Social it's
social distortion.
I know that one.
Good
something.
band.
Yeah. Do you want to pull another question, Brian? Well, Alana.
Oh yeah. I mean, for me personally,
Social deduction.
There you go.
Oh,
Social
there you go.
deduction.
I feel we talked about it already, but I feel like cloud gaming is going to be
true.
thing.
True.
I mean, it's okay. CDL Nut Pretty asks, if Fallout New Vegas 2 does happen, do you think Xbox has the guts to make it an exclusive? I'm not sure if they value their consumer-friendly image over the amount of consoles that could move for them. I don't know if that would be quite the console move.
It wouldn't. It's niche.
Yeah.
It feels popular when you work in the industry or you're in the community, or you're
because it's so well regarded.
Right. You know enough about video games that you're following inside gaming on Twitter. But for the broader
if you're not, what are you doing?
For the broader public, Fallout New Vegas 2 doesn't mean shit.
I think they'll make it exclusive. Absolutely. This is why you buy Bethesda.
I kind of think that one they would. I don't know that they would for a Fallout 5, but New Vegas 2, I could see that happening.
I could see them doing timed exclusives, because you think about it, what they want to use the exclusives to do is to sell boxes and sell their service. And once they've kind of capitalized on that, then they could sell another 10 million copies on the PlayStation console or whatever, right?
True. And the way that timed exclusives work is really interesting. I was reading a study, to be fair, only one, so I don't know if there are other conflicting ones, but that said the way that timed exclusives work also in terms of marketing is generally that people don't realize, like majority of people don't realize, I think it was something like 70%, that game is ever coming to the other platform. So timed exclusives work so well that people think it's an exclusive even though it's not, but the company gets to actually sell it on both eventually. Which just make everything a timed exclusive, and the general public at large will think, oh, this is only available on this.
They will still associate those Bethesda studios with Xbox, essentially.
And that first 6 months, even if it's 6 months, is huge, because then everybody's played it and moved on. Yeah.
Well, and also Game Pass is really disrupting that, right? Like the interest, like being able to play those games and people being able to play those games essentially for free. I've seen things from developers saying like, oh, we got like this new renewed interest in our game, and if it were ever come off, like they do like see a return in sales and that. So I've seen stuff like that, not for Games Pass specifically, but like Steam sales and stuff too, right? Like when things get close to free or cheaper, it can like really boost and turn around like a whole studio's basic like revenue stream. So I don't know.
Moogle Boots asks, since the Mario 3D All-Stars collection is selling like crazy, which 3 games would you like to see bundled together to play on a new console? Me being an RPG fan, Xenosaga or maybe Shadow Hearts would be nice. Those are good choices, Moogle Boots. I would love like a nice Dragon Quest compilation, like 7, 8, and 9. Oh, that would be amazing. What else? Like, I'm surprised. Have they done like a Dark Souls collection?
Not yet.
No.
It's coming though, I'm sure.
1, 2, and 3. I don't.
Yeah,
and Demon Souls would be nice in there too. I would say I'd love more Metal Gear. Just give me all of Metal Gear. That's an easy one though, I think.
There's so many collections already. I think
it's true. They have already done that a bunch of times.
They've done it twice.
I want it to continue. I don't want people to lose Metal Gear. God of War as well, I think, because there's like another God of War that's been announced. Like I'm really hankering to play through all of them again.
Yeah.
That's just the thing that's been on my mind recently. Like I think those are also still available to play on PS4, but just continuing those bundles. I love Rare Replay, of course.
Oh my God, that was like the best Xbox One exclusive. Yeah.
It's so good.
It's so good.
Like it makes Jet Force Gemini playable. Like I love that game. But when you try and play it on 64 now, because I still have my 64 and I've tried once and it was like, this is fucking atrocious. How did I play this as a kid?
It's so
they
good.
updated it and it works on Rare Replay really well. I would like Rare Replay to persist for sure, but I guess we don't have to worry about that with Xbox, right? Aren't they ensuring forwards compatibility generally?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
At least in the first few years, I think they've said.
Man, for me, it's tough because I feel like a lot of the really strong collections kind of already have been done, or the emulation isn't so hard to pull off. Like if you did like a Castlevania one or something, that would be pretty cool. I think like old PlayStation 1 classics that people have forgotten about would be pretty cool. I remember I've been thinking about this a lot lately. I don't know why, but there was a Ghost in the Shell game that I really liked, and it was like very PlayStation 1 style, like arcade, and you play as like a Tachikoma and like just skating around the concrete and shooting missiles and stuff, which is like super rad. But like, I don't know, on the indie side, this probably you can already play on your PS4 or whatever, but I'd love like a Vlambeer collection, since that studio is they've closed their doors, and maybe like a Cappy Games collection or whatever, but I think you can just readily play any of those games still right now, so that's not really a good,
try to think of a collection that doesn't exist.
It'd be,
I would think like a cool, I don't know, like some sort of indie collection, like here's 5 great Devolver digital games.
Oh, sure.
Maybe
WarioWare, if people are missing that stuff.
I mean, Annapurna, they make really fucking good games. Or publish them, rather. What else is there? I'm trying to think of like other bundles.
Dishonored, maybe? I don't know.
Oh, good. There's not enough audience for that, but I fucking love Dishonored.
Good question. Lucent Orb asks, what's your favorite developer? Mine is Supergiant Games.
Very nice.
Of course, they made Bastion, Transistor, and most recently Hades, which is great.
You've been playing Hades?
Good. I've just started. I love it.
I love it too. Yeah. I've only played, I played an hour on stream on PC and then was like, you know what? I think I'm going to play this game on Switch, and started again, and I just beat Meg.
I'm not a huge roguelike person, but something about this one I really enjoy.
So stylish. Supergiant make amazing games.
So their favorite is Supergiant Games, followed closely by Remedy Entertainment, which of course made Control and Alan Wake. I thought
you were saying yours was Supergiant, Brian. This person said this.
The question.
Got it. Okay.
All time, I would probably say Square Enix. Lately, though, last 10 years for me, From Software. I mean, it's the Souls games, Bloodborne, Sekiro.
Like playing Sekiro right now.
Awesome stuff.
Mine's Platinum.
Oh, that's a
I
fantastic pick.
adore them. Like, and it was a thing that I had to think about for a while because there was a period there where it was Ubisoft. But that was the period where we had like Valiant Hearts, Child of Light, and we also had good Assassin's Creed games, and Splinter Cell. So there was a period of time where I loved Ubisoft, but they've gone in a direction that I'm not much of a fan of now. And just keep like sexually harassing their employees.
Right, a little.
So like maybe cut that out a bit would be great. But Platinum, like obviously Nier, talking point today because of the Tokyo Game Show, but also like games like Vanquish. Like, basically, there's just no Platinum game that I've played that I haven't been like, holy shit, this fucking rules.
Yeah.
Nier Automata was amazing. Like, one of the best RPGs I've ever played.
Fantastic.
It was just unbelievable.
Yeah,
I knew nothing about the series before, but it was awesome.
Yeah.
Gosh, yeah, I'm remiss to pick like AAA studios at this point just because of so much we hear about crunch and all that. But it's hard for me to even pick one studio. I just love the medium so freaking much. I love like a studio that has like a really good story. Like you're talking about Platinum, it's ex-Capcom and Clover people, and they have that legacy too. And man, yeah, like one of my favorite developers, I've already mentioned Cappy, which I think are really cool. They did some cool stuff that people don't know about, but more recently they did Below, which didn't do super great, and Super Time Force.
Such an interesting game. But Below also was plagued by like not coming out.
Yeah, totally. It
took so long.
It took so long. And Sword and Sorcery, they did that first like iPhone game that people were like, oh wow, what is this? And got kind of interested in, had Craig Adams.
I think they did some licensed games. I believe I did a Comic-Con panel with Capybara because they did Nickelodeon something.
That's probably true. They used to make cell phone ports.
I think that's what, when I look up Capybara, it gives me the animal.
They did make a Ubisoft game, Might and Magic Clash of Heroes, which is a rad puzzle game, which I think I've talked about on some kind of Inside Gaming show or feature that I did before. Another one of my favorite developers was Lab Zero for a while, but things have gone real bad over there and have imploded entirely due to one of the members of the leadership being a very not good person or having some pretty gnarly accusations spun against them. And
Obama?
Yeah, and then also they like doubled down and said that they had no plans of like affecting any change or personal improvement or whatever. And so more stories came out from the developers that like, oh, this person isn't who we thought they were.
Don't love that.
Yep. Nope. And so that basically Lab Zero was imploded and now they made Future Club. And if you didn't know Lab Zero, it's like Skullgirls. A lot of those people came from the team that made that Scott Pilgrim game way back when. Yeah. So it's been interesting to follow their story. Muriel Cartwright is probably like one of my favorite artists in the biz, but like Skullgirls for me was just like a game that taught me how fighting games work in a way that I didn't understand really before, where I would just get smashed at Marvel vs. Capcom all the time, and I thought it was cool. I thought it was a cool game, and it sucks that their studio just went through like so much drama lately, but it does seem like they're kind of coming up on a success story where they've now formed like a gaming co-op essentially. It's weird. You can go read about it, but
haven't they like taken over the Skullgirls IP or something and started like, or maybe I was misreading that. I don't know.
There was like another developer working on a port for mobile who has like kind of all the, and they've basically distanced themselves from that creative lead of the director guy who was found to be not great. So it sucks. It really sucks. But yeah, look up Future Club. That stuff seems rad.
Cool.
It seems like they're going to do some cool stuff. So I can't wait to see what they do next.
Right on. Well, I think that's it for us today at Send News. Thank you so much for listening or watching, however you take this podcast, and we'll see you next week.
Bye. Pre-orders, you can expect them kind of tomorrow, but they didn't even mention that in their presentation. And then it turned out to not be true because Walmart was just like, hey, what's up? We got PS5s. You want a PS5? Come on over.
Yeah. And then for the rest of the night, my Twitter was just lit up with people doing the equivalent of stampeding during a Black Friday sale.
Yeah.